Good afternoon and welcome to State Newsfile. I'm Cassandra Stefanik. Kellyanne Roberts will have sports coming up, but first, let's check in with Jeff Slack with the weather.
Well, it's been a beautiful day. I didn't have to wear a jacket today. That's how nice it's been. There is a breeze coming in, which is making it a bit cool, but it's made that temperature stay really nice. We didn't reach our record high for today. We reached 13, only 2 degrees off of that 15 mark, which was set back in 1935. And Canada has been experiencing some different weather patterns going on, and I'll go into more detail about that later.
Thanks, Jeff. So, Kelly, I hear there is a ton going on campus this weekend.
So much Trojans action happening at the campus center. It's insane. But I'll get into that just a little bit later on.
And with that, let's get right into today's top stories. After 5 long weeks of testimony, the Douglas Garland trial has finally come up with a verdict. Newsfile's Megan Brennan is live at the courthouse. Megan?
Yes, Cassandra, after 2 days of the jury deliberating, they have come to the consensus that Douglas Garland is guilty in all 3 counts of first-degree murder. They started their verdict yesterday and went on till today around 2 o'clock when they came out with the verdict. Again, he has been found of the 3 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of 5-year-old Nathan O'Brien and grandparents Kathy and Alvin Lickness. Kathy, Alvin, and Nathan were last seen June 29th, 2014, after an estate sale at the Licknesses' home in southwest Calgary. It was 4 days after their disappearance that Garland's truck was identified by his sister as the suspect vehicle. After the verdict was out, Crown Prosecutor Shane Parker says there really is no point to delay the sentences any further.
In this particular case, because it's statutory, in other words, Parliament passed the law, there's very little discretion that Justice Gates has to use, and there's really no background reports that need to be prepared on the prisoner at this case. So it's one of those situations where there's no need to delay it, and the sooner we can get closure for all involved, including Mr. Garland, then we should do it.
Crown Prosecutor Shane Parker didn't want to talk on behalf of Nathan's mother, but he did say there was an emotional outburst at the end of the verdict.
Megan, what happens next?
So Garland will spend the rest of his life in jail. The question now is when he can apply for parole. Right now it's seeing that his options are 25 years, 50 years, or 75 years.
Megan Brennan reporting live from the Calgary courthouse. The sentence hearing will be tomorrow morning. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau took to the podium overseas talking Trump and trade early this morning. The Canadian-Europe trade agreement sent continental shockwaves throughout yesterday when French legislature gave the agreement the go-ahead after a vote of 148 to 254. A joint Canada-EU study suggests would increase bilateral trade by 20%, create 80,000 jobs, and boost income by $12 million annually.
I think our trade agreement with Europe is really important at this point. We don't actually trade a whole lot with Europe at the moment, and certainly we're not going to trade as much with Europe as we ever have with the United States. But Europe is a very large market, about 500 million consumers. That compares to about 35 million here in Canada. It's a huge market for Canada to have access to sell our goods to. For Alberta, particularly our agricultural goods.
The approval of the Canadian-European trade agreement makes 13 already in place globally. Studying for an exam can leave a student feeling depressed, stressed, and lonely, but reading week might just be the unprescribed cure. As Ivan Ivanoff reports, visiting your parents, catching up on your assignments, or just taking the week to bond with your couch is how SAIT hopes to help students going through these stressful few weeks.
According to National College Health Survey, around 44% of students indicated feeling stressed or depressed. As we head into reading week, SAIT has many options to prevent depression in students.
So the symptoms a person might find, they've got extreme sadness, and that's a little bit different than just feeling down. A person isn't doing as well on exams, for example. Well, can they meet with their instructor? They can meet with us here, the Lamb Learner Success Center, as well as another place, academic coaches. There's so many resources that a student doesn't have to just kind of get overwhelmed on their own.
The symptoms of depression include lack of appetite, loneliness, and more, and that can lead to bad grades during midterms.
students that go to SAIT, they can do multiple things to either avoid or control their depression. There's a student support center which has puppy days. So we have a bunch of puppies that come in here and you can pet them, kind of distress.
With the options given by SAIT for the students, it can be a great idea to attend at least one distressing event to have a clear mind and be ready for the midterms.
As you can see, many students are getting ready for the midterms and also participating in the SAIT events to prevent depression. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Ivan Ivanov.
For a few lucky students, reading break can be the first time they've booked or traveled alone. SAIT's Travel and Tourism Department knows that, though it should be an exciting time, planning the perfect trip can be stressful. Students can find travel advice on campus from destinations in the Senator Burns building. The student-run travel agency offers vacation packages and travel advice. There are also places like flight centers to help students budget out their trip.
Helping them with a good budget. Students don't really have that much funds to go anywhere very far or to do anything spectacular, but we have different products, different tours, maybe just a flight somewhere to get them wherever they need to get there.
There was a little more color today on SAIT's campus. SAITSA held their 4th annual Pride Day. SAITSA hopes to bring more attention to the LGBTQ community on campus. Jacob LeBlanc reports.
The 4th annual Pride Day here at SAIT took place this morning, starting off with raising a flag. Other events included a hot chocolate march to raise awareness towards the LGBTQ community. There is no club for the LGBTQ people at SAIT, but SAITSA is open to anything.
Currently, we don't have an LGBTQ club, but all SAITSA clubs are open to, required to be open to any student that wants to join them. So hopefully all clubs, but there isn't one specifically for that community.
The idea of Pride Day is to promote tolerance and to be sure that everyone on campus is feeling safe and welcome. The head of SAIT Student Services Department says our campus is a very safe place and any harassment of the students in the community has been few and far between.
I think it's important for a bunch of different reasons. One is we are an inclusive campus. We want this to be a place where when people study here, they feel comfortable being themselves. Whether you are male, female, a person of color, regardless of your sexual orientation, you should be able to come here and study. This is about education, and it's educating everybody, regardless of who they are.
There wasn't a large crowd at the flag raising event, but that's not necessarily reflective on the number of students who identify with the LGBTQ community. The LGBT community is continuing to grow every day, and SAITSA hopes to keep producing days like this and also keeping students feeling safe and at home. For SAIT Newsfile, I'm Jacob LeBlanc.
Students are beginning to apply for industry-related jobs as the term is coming to a close. Students know the current state of the economy plays a role in their future, but many are not aware of some of the resources available to them. Many don't think about heading to the Youth Employment Center, which is a free tool for students to use.
The market right now is extremely competitive. Where our economy is sitting right now, it's really, really crucial that young people come into the center, get connected with that employment counselor so that they can get ahead of their competition and to be able to utilize our services because they are free of cost.
Many predict the economy is on an upturn, which would help jobs become more readily available to graduates across the province. Heart disease is the #1 killer, but it shouldn't matter what ethnicity you are when it comes to treatment. A University of Calgary professor says it does. Dr. Catherine King-Shear recently conducted a study on the influence of cardiac symptoms and access to care between different ethnicities and genders. Matt Fatinko reports on what her research shows.
Dr. King-Shear is a professor and the Guru Nanak Dev Ji Dill Research Chair at U of C. She's recently completed a study that shows when it comes to getting medical assistance during a heart attack or stroke, immigrants and women take a back seat.
What is profound here is that we still see that South Asians and Chinese wait longer to get to hospital, and women wait longer than men. So that's worrisome.
The best way to prevent a cardiovascular disease is simply get your cardio up. When it comes to cardio, most people think you need to get on the treadmill right away and just start running. But that's not exactly the case.
Fix your lifestyle before you get into possibly like, oh, I'm going to start running 2 times a week. Why not try to park on the other side of the grocery store, right? Park farther away, do a little farmer carry, walk your groceries over there, right? Go up the stairs. All of these little factors are going to add up.
Staying active isn't the only factor, though. A big part of cardiovascular health is in genetics. But since the services aren't always available immediately, especially for women and minorities, don't hesitate if something feels off.
If someone suspects they might be having a heart attack, they need to activate EMS right away. That means calling 911.
First 8 Newsfile, I'm Matt Patinko.
With great power comes great responsibility. SAIT knows that when it comes to reproductive health, navigating the gray areas can be kind of uncomfortable and confusing for some. Featuring fun games, events, and a few local experts, the Campus Sexual Health Fair is hoping to educate adolescents, limiting the amount of students getting stung when it comes to the birds and the bees.
We just have this event every year just to kind of provide students with information on how to practice safe sex, things that they might not know about, resources that they can access, as well as to have fun with it. It's not meant to be taken too seriously.
Communities like CCASA, among others, also made an appearance, reminding students that threats don't only include viruses and infections. Sexual assault is more common than we think, and it's important to know what to do in the event that you or a stranger is affected. Those are today's top stories. We'll have your full forecast for you after the break, but first, Jeff Slack has a look at what's going on around Calgary this week.
The Pump House Theatre presents Skin Flick, a show about a middle-aged couple who find themselves out of work. It costs $20 for adults and $15 for seniors and students. If you're looking for something more hands-on, there's a glass-blowing classes happening at the new Edward Gallery. Starting today and going until the 20th, you can try to master the craft that is glass blowing. Stage West presents The Comedy Drinking Habits, a story about 2 nuns who begin to make wine secretly. Tickets are $75 and starts at 6 o'clock. A new festival is coming to Calgary for Family Day. Glow Downtown Winter Lights Festival will start February 17th to the 20th in the core. Downtown will be lit with bright art installation, projection, and various theater-related experiences. Martyr Loop is holding an Asian night market. This gives the opportunity to learn about food from a variety of Asian cultures. It's $3 to get in, and there will be Asian street snacks, drinks, and desserts.
Calgary police respond to 2 calls every hour of every day related to domestic violence.
Homefront, a nonprofit organization, works to ensure that victims have the support, information, and resources they need to break the cycle of abuse and live positive and healthy futures.
It takes a community to end domestic violence. Visit homefrontcalgary.com and help our city.
The Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society has been protecting more than 1 million square kilometers of Canadian wilderness for over 50 years. The Southern Alberta chapter has been at the forefront of this movement from the beginning, partnering with local communities, organizations, different levels of government, and individuals much like yourself. We're always looking for more support. Help us help Canada by donating, fundraising, or volunteering today.
Welcome back to SAIT Newsfile. If you haven't been outside today, you should, because this is the last day that we are going to have a Chinook. Now, last week we got hammered with a bunch of snow, and because that Chinook came in, we've been seeing a lot of slush and melting ice happening, which has been kind of inconvenient for anyone who's been walking around. That is going to change later on as the temperatures do start to drop. But if you think it's wet, it's not as wet as Vancouver, as they are experiencing what is called the Pineapple Express, which is a tropical system coming up from Hawaii, and it's creating warm moisture, which is giving them a bunch of rain hammering down in the city. Now, it's expected that it's going to be raining for 2 weeks straight, and they're going to get 100 millimeters of rain in that time. Now, in the prairies, Edmonton and Regina are sitting at a good 10 and 6, and Winnipeg is unable to kind of break that cold streak they've been having this winter, as they are only sitting at 2. But it gets colder in the East Coast. Toronto is sitting at -2 and Montreal is also sitting at -2, but it's in Halifax where it's really bad. They're in a winter storm warning, where it has affected them, and it's been 3 days where it's been trouble for the commuters out there. That system will also hit Nova Scotia later today, and they are expected to get 30 centimeters of snow. Now, I think it's time that they start looking down south for some vacation time.
Beautiful Palm Springs is 23 and sunny. Barbados is the hottest, sitting at 28 and partly cloudy. If you're planning a trip to Mexico, Cancun is currently sitting at 26 and mostly cloudy. Honolulu is 23, mostly sunny. It's a great time to go to Disney World during reading week, as Orlando is sitting at 20. Las Vegas is 15 and mostly sunny.
So Calgary today, we reached the high of 13. We didn't break that record like I said before, which was 15. And it was mainly sunny all day. The sun came out, it felt nice, and that wind wasn't as cold as we've seen previously. It was a nice cool breeze coming in. Later tonight, it will drop down to 4, so we can expect all that slush to stay. And for Alberta, it's been pretty nice all around. We've experienced the Chinook. The Chinook is here until tomorrow, where temperatures will drop. In Fort McMurray, it is 11 and partly cloudy. Grand Prairie is 5 and cloudy. And as we dip down south to Medicine Hat and Lethbridge, they are both sitting at 14. And Banff is sitting at 9. So if you're planning on going there this weekend, this might be the time to do it before those temperatures drop down even more. Now in Red Deer, it's sitting at 9. And we'll take a look at the 5-day for Calgary. So tonight it'll drop down to 4, so that slush will stick around. Tomorrow, this is where we start to see that decline in the Chinook. It'll be a high of 7 and then drop down to -6. As we get into the weekend, it will start to drop even lower, as it'll only be 3, and that snow will start to freeze over. But as we get into reading week, it will be a little bit nicer, so you might want to plan some snow skiing.
It's a great time to go to Sunshine, as it'll be lightly snowing with temperatures of -2, and they have a base of 155 centimeters. There'll be some fresh powder in Lake Louise, as it's also supposed to snow in -3. It might be a bit slushy in Nakiska, as it's sunny in 2. They have a base of 76 centimeters with packed powder. Expect a powdery day at Big White, as they have a summit of 182 centimeters. Temperatures will be -2, and it will snow throughout the day. Kimberley currently has the best base of 200 centimeters, but it'll be a wet day on the hill, as temperatures are 1 with a mixture of rain and snow. If you're not looking into skiing or snowboarding this weekend, you can always go to Mount Norquay, where they're hosting the Vans Canada's Freestyle Snowboard Jam. And if you are planning on snowboarding or skiing there, their base is 75, current temperature is 0, and you're expected to get a mixture of rain and snow.
So, Kelly, the Flames suffered a devastating loss to the Coyotes the other day, but last night they all pulled it together.
They definitely did. It was a very interesting game. We'll have a look at that in just a few minutes here, but first, let's have a look at Trojans. It's been a good week for Trojans hockey, especially for our women's team, who are headed into playoffs. Reporter Chelsea Tomasek takes us to see just how the team is preparing.
They were off to a pretty rough start to the season, but the Trojans women's hockey team pulled through and managed to snag a playoff spot. The Trojans are currently in 4th place in the overall standings and will face off against the team in first in the first round. Right now, the team is focused on training hard on and off the ice to ensure they're at the top of their game.
It's just keeping the momentum of the practices going, keep trying to teach new things, and keep trying to get them to improve and get better at all those things. So we've been really lucky. This team has never given up and never quit, so it's never really been a challenge for us to try and get them motivated. They've been very motivated.
The team couldn't be more pumped about extending their season. Their game this weekend is the last one of the regular season, and they're counting on it to be good preparation and give them an idea of what to expect when playoffs roll around.
You know, we got a lot of work ahead of us, especially this weekend. The standings could change. We could be facing somebody completely different than we expected, so it'll be interesting to see who we're playing.
Playoffs start on Friday, February 24th, with semifinals in a best-of-3 format. Finals will be the following 2 weeks in a best-of-5 championship series.
The women's team is taking on the Nate Ooks this weekend in a home-and-home series. For State Newsfile, I'm Chelsea Tomasek.
Trojans women's volleyball is playing its last game this weekend, and for 3 ladies, it will be the last game as a Trojan. Students in athletics are able to play on a team for up to 5 years while enrolled in a program at SAIT. And for Megan Brennan, Sam Carpenter, and Renee Verstick, it's sadly the end of the road. The trio has been reflecting on their time on the team and where their careers may take them next. The team's final game will be this Saturday at home when they take on the Olds College Broncos.
Right now, I don't really know what I'm going to do afterwards. I'm kind of undeciding if I want to coach or if I want to just kind of move on with my life away from volleyball, just take a little break for a while, but I guess that'll come when it's official.
Megan and her fellow graduating teammates will play their last home games this weekend on Saturday at 1 o'clock. There's lots of Trojans action to catch this weekend as most teams wrap up their regular season. Jacob LeBlanc has more about all the Trojan action happening on campus this weekend. Jacob, it looks like Friday won't be as busy as Saturday at the campus center.
No, you're right, Kelly. There's actually only one Trojan team in action on Friday night, and that's men's hockey. The Trojans men's hockey team prepares to take on the Portage College Voyagers this Friday at 7 p.m. The men's team is third in the ACAC after losing 2 games back-to-back against the Grant MacEwan University Griffins, but are looking to get back on track in the win column with 2 games at home this weekend.
Looking forward to see those games. Jacob, Saturday seems like it will be a lot busier.
No, you're right again, Kelly. It's going to be way busier Saturday night, especially with all the court and ice teams in action. There will be 6 games happening Saturday. Like I said, very busy. It kicks off with the women's volleyball team who plays the Olds College Broncos at 1 o'clock. Men's hockey will hit the ice at 2 p.m. to take on the Voyagers. And then it's back to the courts where the men's volleyball team turns to dig in and attempt to finish the season with a win against the Olds College Broncos. As soon as that game wraps up, the women's basketball team will take over as they face the Medicine Hat Rattlers, with the men's team to follow at 8. And the women's hockey team will try to continue their win streak against their rival Nate Ooks. So there's actually definitely a lot going on this weekend, Kelly.
Jacob LeBlanc reporting live from SAIT's newsroom. Like Jacob said, lots going on this weekend. Friday night, not as crazy as Saturday will be with just the men's hockey team at home. Saturday night, well, it's a busy one. With all court sports in action and both hockey teams, Saturday will be the last regular season game for the men's and women's volleyball teams and women's hockey. Men's hockey and both basketball teams will play next weekend to wrap up their seasons. With the Calgary Flames' 3-1 win last night against the Philadelphia Flyers, their playoff hopes are still alive. The Flames currently sit in the second wildcard position in the Western Conference, just 1 point behind the Nashville Predators. The second wildcard position puts them 8th overall in the Western Conference, 4 points behind St. Louis, who are in 6th. There's still lots of games to be played in a month and a half, so plenty of time for the Flames to continue to climb the standings. The Flames will have a 2-day break to regroup and practice before they head to Vancouver. Wednesday's win against the Flyers could not have come at a better time. The Flames will begin a 5-game road trip starting in Vancouver on Saturday before heading south of the parallel 49 border. The Flames will play back-to-back games in the warm state of Florida before rounding out the trip in Carolina on the 26th. Well, it's a crazy world we live in, and now more than ever, solace on Canadian soil is worth traveling land and sea for. After the break, a maple brand of hospitality will warm you from your boots to your toques.
Hello? What do you mean? You can't foreclose on us.
No one is ready for bad news, but the Calgary Urban Project Society can help pick you up. Cups Calgary.
Light, something we take for granted every day. Today, over 1 billion people don't have access to electricity. They rely on candles or kerosene for light. Kerosene produces black toxic smoke, resulting in 2 million deaths annually. At Light Up the World, we want to eliminate dependency on fuel lighting by bringing renewable energy to remote regions. We improve economic growth, education, and health. Visit lutw.org to see how you can help light up the world for a brighter future.
Most of us take our Canadian citizenship for granted, but for people immigrating to our country, it's a choice for a new life. Receiving the title of an official Canadian citizen sends some tears with happiness, and Kara Oosterhuis reports on Canada's 150th anniversary and the importance of becoming a citizen.
I was in tears. It really means so much to me. It's just, it's a whole new rights and freedom, and I've had the same rights, but now I get to vote too. So
after a long haul of studying and learning, immigrants got to celebrate as they were sworn in as official Canadians. The happiness and pride for Canada shone across each person's face as they went up to sign the official document. Canada is a country of immigrants. In fact, over 20,000 people will become Canadian citizens this year alone. Some shared stories of why they wanted to become a Canadian citizen and why this would be one of the most memorable days of their lives.
I think there's just a pride in being a citizen of the country that you've chosen to live in, and so, you know, and I wanted my kids to be citizens of where we live.
Some of the questions on the test are tricky. Do you know what our national sport is? It's not hockey. The pride for our nation and country was obvious as everyone sang our bilingual national anthem.
It's very important for Canada because we need to celebrate and be proud of where we're born and where we became citizens. A lot of us are second generation or even first generation Canadians, and it's very important that we understand the history and the heritage of Canada.
This comes just in time for Canada's 150th birthday, where we can add even more to the family. For St. Newsfile, I'm Kara Oosterhuis.
So now that you guys have had a couple minutes to think about it, it's actually lacrosse, surprisingly, our national sport. And we do have a team here.
We do. The Roughnecks.
We do.
They're good. They're great to watch. I've seen them a couple times.
So you go for the party, stay for the game. Isn't that the slogan?
I go for the ice cream.
Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
So it's a wonderful time to be a Canadian, but it's also an amazing time to be an Albertan. Wild Rose Country is celebrating our second biggest industry today. Hug a cow or thank a farmer. It's Canada Agriculture Day.
Hug a cow.
Hug a cow if you can. I don't know. So let's take a look at that 5-day forecast. Again, Jeff, what do we have in store?
Yes, like I said, that Chinook is done for today. It will start to drop down. Tomorrow will be a high of 7, so it will be above average temperatures, which is great. But it's when it drops down at night, that's going to be the problem with all that slush and ice that we've had. It will begin to freeze over. But Monday will come down. And by the start of the reading week, it'll be pretty well off so far with 4. But that won't last long as we get further into that week. It'll drop down to 2 and about 1. So it's gonna be kind of a weird reading week.
A little bit.
Yeah. What are you guys even doing for reading week?
I'm gonna go home for homemade cooking because I can't cook.
No?
No.
Dorm meals just aren't cutting it for you.
Not at all.
I think I'm gonna try to get out to the mountains. You know, it's been quite some time.
Yeah, I feel like being in school, you don't get a lot of time to go out there at all. So again, thank you for joining us on St. Newsfile.